named Greg, an unassuming accountant living in a quiet suburban neighborhood. He had a lovely wife, Sarah, who worked as a nurse, and 2 kids. To the outside world, they were the perfect family. Everything seemed just right. But Greg had a secret. He'd been having an affair with a woman named Karen, a fiery, unpredictable artist who had a studio just a few blocks away. Karen wasn't his type. She was wild, loud, and impulsive, but she made him feel alive in ways Sarah couldn't anymore. They had been sneaking around for months, meeting up whenever Sarah worked night shifts. One evening, things took a wild turn. Sarah, suspicious about Greg's late nights, decided to do something out of character. She followed him. Quietly, she trailed behind as Greg went into Karen's apartment building, and as she stood outside, she saw him kiss Karen. Her heart sank, but instead of confronting them, Sarah had an idea. She quietly turned around and drove home, plotting something outrageous. The next morning, Greg was completely unaware of his wife's discovery. Sarah made him breakfast like always, but there was an eerie calm to her demeanor. She made small talk as if nothing was wrong, but in the back of her mind, she was already preparing for the storm. Later that afternoon, while Greg was out running errands, Sarah called Karen's number, pretending to be a potential buyer for one of her art pieces. She'd done a little digging and found out Karen was hosting an exhibition in a gallery that evening. When she called Karen, pretending to be interested, she struck up a conversation, eventually securing an invite to the exhibition. That night, Sarah showed up, looking stunning in a tight black dress, with just enough of a mysterious air to make her seem like a woman on a mission. But what Karen didn't know was that Sarah wasn't alone. She'd invited Greg's mother, a woman who was known to be a bit eccentric and wildly unpredictable, to the gallery. They arrived just as Greg and Karen were passionately discussing some artwork. Sarah didn't say a word. She simply leaned in and whispered something to her mother-in-law. Before Greg could even turn around, his mother, an unfiltered woman of very few boundaries, took the stage and began loudly berating Karen. She accused her of everything, ruining families, manipulating young men, you name it. Greg stood there, frozen, as the room grew tense. He couldn't escape. The truth had already spilled out in front of dozens of people. His affair was exposed, and not just to Sarah, but to an entire crowd of strangers. The embarrassment was unbearable. But the final blow came when Sarah stepped forward, revealing to the crowd that Greg wasn't just an innocent bystander. She told them he'd been sneaking around for months. Then, in a moment of unexpected grace, she turned to Karen and said, "Don't worry. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at him." The whole room went silent. Greg tried to make excuses, but no one was listening. Sarah and her mother-in-law walked out, leaving Greg alone with the mess he had made. Sarah and Greg's marriage didn't survive, but she got one heck of a story out of it, and a sense of revenge that left her feeling oddly satisfied.